Seems. Only baseball seemed stitched tightly enough to resist the forces of change, wound as it was deep into its mythic past. Or so it had appeared. When the June 2nd edition of Look hit the stands, myth became exposed as such, and baseball for the first time looked very much like the real world in which it was played. Cosell might have been oblivious to a lot of what was happening in Miller and Bouton's Roosevelt hotel room that Friday morning, but he was keenly aware of one thing, that he was bearing witness to the dawn of a new era. Baseball had spent more than a century building itself up as something otherworldly. With the release of Ball 4, Jim Bouton brought it down to earth. Cosell, who liked to brag that only he could tell it like it is, was at last staring down a man who really did. If it appeared odd that it was a Major League Baseball player, of all people, who had unmasked the cloistered world of the professional athlete, it made perfect sense that Jim Bouton would be the MLB player to do it. Already, at age 31, it was a role he seemed destined to play his entire life. Part 1. The Bulldog. 1. Warm-up Bouton. On the day Jim Bouton was born, Generalissimo Francisco Franco declared a total blockade of all Republican-controlled ports in Spain, threatening to torpedo any and all ships that entered what he now declared his waters. A day earlier, Mahatma Gandhi ended a 4-day fast over the issue of constitutional reform in Rajkot, and a day before that, back in the States, the United Automobile Workers amended its constitution to officially bar communists from its ranks. Jim Bouton may have been born into the weight of history when he arrived on March 8, 1939, but to his good fortune he had likewise been born into a family that was hardly imprisoned by it. It could very well have been. The Boutons can trace their roots back to 16th century France, where Nicholas Bouton was better known as Count Chamy, Baron Montague de Naton, and his son not only claimed a title himself, but a spot on the portrait wall in the Gallery of French Nobles at Versailles. More recently, Daniel Bouton was bayoneted by a British infantryman at the Battle of Bunker Hill in 1775, becoming the first, but certainly not the last, Bouton the establishment desired to see filleted. But it wasn't their history that defined the Boutons. Instead, it was their desire to upend and redirect it. On both sides, Jim Bouton's lineage was dotted with tinkerers, with fiddlers, with people who saw things as they might be, rather than merely as they were. Both grandfathers were inventors of a sort. His maternal grandfather patented several variations on the pressure cooker. His company was later bought out by the pressure-frying behemoth Hobart, and his paternal grandfather obtained patents while at Westinghouse on an elevator system for efficiently ferrying fighter planes from the underdeck of aircraft carriers to the flight deck. If his family had one defining characteristic, his brother Bob recalled, it was in making it up, things and otherwise. Both families resided in prim, proper Park Ridge, Illinois. The Rodhams lived nearby. Hillary would not arrive until 1947, where Jim's parents met and eventually became a couple. They weren't yet married when Jim's mother Trudy became unexpectedly pregnant with him in 1938. Once word got around, the moral arbiters of the neighborhood made it clear that that would not do in Park Ridge. They were encouraged to seek residence elsewhere for the duration of the pregnancy. Left with little choice, Jim's parents withdrew from high school and went to live with a grandparent in the more socially tolerant New York City area. For Jim's father George, a swimming, diving, and track star at Park Ridge's main township high school, this meant the abandonment of his formal education. He turned down athletic scholarship offers from Duke and Brown as he headed east to look for work to support the new family he suddenly had responsibility for. After a time, the Boutons settled in Rochelle Park, New Jersey, where during the war George had spent time in the Navy. Without a college degree, his options were limited. Eventually, his father-in-law got him a job with his company selling pressure cookers. Soon, he began taking night classes in an effort to regain some of what he had lost earlier. "When I was real young," Jim recalled years later,